Welcome back to the deep dive. So think about the last time you bought something online. You clicked buy, right? We were likely using a system that's fundamentally different, really radically different from shopping even just 10 years ago, even if, the website looked pretty familiar. Today, we're going deep on this huge disruption in the retail supply chain, a massive shift, driven entirely by these giant digital platforms. And our mission really is to get our heads around the new playbook here. These digital giants, think Amazon, Alibaba, Mercado Libre. They're competing head-to-head with traditional stores, right? But their whole business model, how they operate, it's completely different. We want to unpack that model and, figure out why it matters so much to all of us.
It really is a radical change, and it's one that often gets kind of glossed over. Sometimes it's clearer if you look outside retail first.
Huh.
Take accommodation. Airbnb is massive, right?
Right,
But owns zero real estate.
right.
Or transport, Uber, Lyft, Didi in China. Huge companies. They don't own the cars.
Okay, so they connect people but don't own the main thing.
Exactly. It's this asset-light model. And that's precisely what's happened in retail.
Yeah.
The biggest online retailers today, often they don't own physical stores. That's maybe obvious. But crucially, they very rarely own the actual products they sell to you.
They don't own the inventory.
Often not. Their business isn't about the product markup in the traditional sense. It's about owning and maximizing the connection.
Wow, okay, that is a fundamental shift. If the value is in the connection, not the stuff, what exactly are they? Because, yeah, back in the mid-90s, early e-commerce was basically just a website version of a catalog store. They bought the goods, stored them, shipped them, very inventory heavy.
Precisely. And that's where the platform model was such a breakthrough. They realized the real value wasn't just putting a store online. It was creating the place, the digital venue, where buyers and sellers could find each other and transact.
Ah, okay, like a digital mall operator.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, a mall owner doesn't buy the clothes or electronics in the shops, do they? They provide the building, the lights, the security, maybe some marketing, and they charge the shop owner rent or maybe the percentage of sales. They're not worried about inventory risk.
It's almost identical conceptually. The platform provides the digital infrastructure, the traffic, the payment systems, the rules. And crucially, they have two sets of customers they need to attract.
Two sets.
Yep. There's the end customer, the person buying the product. That's obvious. But just as important, maybe even more important, is the seller, the vendor who lists products on the platform.
Ah, right. The shops in the mall.
Exactly. A platform's success hinges on attracting the best sellers, the widest variety of sellers, because that's what brings in the end customers. Get the sellers right, and the buyers will follow.
So the platform owns the connection, the meeting place. But just connecting isn't quite enough, is it? They need to control that experience, make money from it, and that control seems to come from managing. You mentioned these three flows.
That's right. The three flows of the digital supply chain: products, payments, and information. This is where the platforms invest heavily, because managing these flows is how they maintain control and generate value.
Okay, let's break those down. Payments first. That seems interesting.
It often surprises people how central payments are. See, in developed markets, we might just think credit cards. But platforms expanding globally, especially in developing economies, hit a wall. Cash was dominant. They couldn't just wait for traditional banking to catch up. So what did they do?
They built their own systems.
Often, yes. They developed their own digital payment solutions. Think Alipay from Alibaba or Mercado Pago from Mercado Libre. These systems often let people load money or link bank accounts, completely bypassing the need for traditional credit cards. They moved millions straight from cash to digital wallets, their digital wallets.
And that keeps everything inside their ecosystem, right? The transaction, the data.
Absolutely. It gives them immense control and visibility over the entire transaction flow. Plus, these payment systems often become popular outside the platform, too.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the second flow? Products, the actual logistics, getting stuff from A to B.
Right, the physical movement of goods. This is where you see incredible scale. The platforms knew they couldn't possibly own all the warehouses and delivery trucks needed for global reach. It's just too capital intensive.
So partnerships.
Massive partnerships. They essentially fueled the growth of huge third-party logistics companies, or 3PLs.
Those are the companies that handle warehousing, shipping, fulfillment for other businesses.
Exactly. Big names you might not even know handle the deliveries for platform sellers. The platforms don't own these 3PLs, but they provide the immense volume, the standardized processes, and sometimes the technology interface that allows these 3PLs to scale up operations at a speed and scope that was frankly unimaginable just a few years ago.
So it's an ecosystem approach. They orchestrate rather than own the physical delivery network.
Precisely. It allows them to offer incredible reach and speed, supporting seller growth without massive capital outlay on their part.
Okay, payments and products make sense as infrastructure. But the third flow, information, you said that's the real currency.
Oh, absolutely. Information's at the absolute core of the platform business model.
Yeah.
Think about the transparency it offers on both sides. For sellers, they can list thousands of items easily. They can tweak prices instantly based on demand. They get immediate feedback through sales data and reviews.
And for customers.
For customers, it's seamless. Buy with a click. Track your order in real time. Leave reviews. See what other people thought. All that data.
Yeah.
Every search, every click, every purchase, every return, every review, it's all captured.
The sheer volume must be astronomical.
It is. And this isn't just passive data collection. It's an incredibly valuable strategic asset.
How so? Beyond just, targeting ads better.
Well, think about the asymmetry. The individual seller knows their own sales. The platform knows everyone's sales. They see aggregate trends across the entire marketplace. They know which categories are booming, which price points work best, where customer demand isn't being met.
Ah, so they can spot opportunities.
Opportunities they can exploit themselves. They can use that aggregate data to identify high-margin niches and then launch their own private label or white label products to compete directly with the sellers on their platform.
Wait, so they're using the sales data from their sellers to compete against those same sellers?
In many cases, yes. The seller is paying commissions and advertising fees to the platform.
Which the platform then uses to potentially undercut them with its own product.
It creates a very, very complex dynamic, an advantage traditional retailers who primarily rely on their own sales data just don't have.
That's quite an edge. Okay, this platform model is becoming clearer. Let's contrast it more directly with the traditional e-commerce retailer, one that does buy and own its inventory. How do they stack up? Because customers often don't see the difference, right? They just see a website.
Right, the competition is fierce because the underlying models are hidden. The most basic difference is revenue. Your traditional e-commerce player buys something for, say, $10 and sells it for $15. Their revenue comes from that $5 markup, simple gross margin, the platform. Their main income streams are usually the commission they charge the seller on each sale, maybe fulfillment fees if they handle logistics, and increasingly, advertising revenue.
Advertising.
Oh, yes. Sellers pay premiums to get their products featured higher in search results to get more visibility. For some platforms, ad revenue is becoming a huge, if not the primary source of profit.
So completely different incentives. What about the product selection, the assortment?
Big difference there. Because the platform doesn't tie up capital buying inventory, they can offer a seemingly endless aisle. Millions of products, incredible variety across countless categories.
Which sounds great for the customer, but
it comes with trade-offs. That massive variety can be overwhelming. And more importantly, there's the issue of quality control and curation.
how so?
Well, a traditional retailer, whether it's a physical store or their own e-commerce site, usually curates their selection. They vet suppliers. They stand behind the authenticity and condition of the product. You buy from them, you trust them. On a platform with millions of third-party sellers, ensuring every product is authentic, accurately described, and not counterfeit is a monumental challenge.
So the platform has to police its own marketplace constantly.
Exactly. They invest heavily in algorithms and enforcement teams, but bad actors inevitably slip through. The guarantee shifts from the platform itself to the individual, often unknown seller. That means inconsistency for the customer.
And that inconsistency probably extends to delivery too, right?
Definitely. That's a huge point of friction.
It's like when you place one order on a platform, but it has items from, say, 3 different sellers.
Right. From your perspective, it's one order. But behind the scenes, it's fulfilled as 3 separate shipments from 3 different locations.
Leading to different arrival times, different packaging, maybe different shipping costs.
Precisely. Each seller is optimizing for their own costs and logistics. There's often no uniform standard imposed by the platform unless the customer specifically pays for a premium fulfillment service run by the platform, like Fulfillment by Amazon.
Yeah, we've all had that happen. One box arrives tomorrow, pristine. Another arrives 10 days later, looking like it lost a fight.
It's a common experience. Now, platforms are trying hard to fix this. They're building out their own logistics networks or offering services to standardize things, especially that crucial last-mile delivery.
But the traditional e-commerce retailer who owns the stock and controls the whole shipping process,
They can inherently offer a much more consistent experience. Same packaging, predictable delivery window, maybe bundled shipping costs. It's simpler because they control the whole chain.
Okay, so platform versus traditional e-com. Got it. But you mentioned a third player emerging strongly, the digital integrated brand.
Yes, this is increasingly important. These are brands that aren't just designing and making stuff anymore. They're getting into the retail game themselves.
You mean like Nike or Apple selling directly from their own websites?
Exactly. Yeah. Historically, brands like Adidas or Lego, they primarily relied on other retailers, department stores, specialty shops, later the big platforms to sell their goods. But then they started integrating forward. First, maybe opening their own physical flagship stores. Think Zara, H&M, IKEA, controlling the entire experience from factory to storefront.
Right, controlling the brand image.
And then came the massive shift online. Brands realized they could build their own sophisticated e-commerce sites and sell directly to consumers. Apple's website, Nike's app, these are major retail operations now.
What was the main driver for that? Just cutting out the middleman for more profit?
Profit is part of it, sure, but the really strategic piece, it's the data. Direct access to customer data firsthand.
They wanted to know who was buying their stuff.
Precisely. Who is buying it? Where do they live? What else do they look at? What feedback do they give? When selling through a traditional retailer or even a platform, the brand often had to ask, maybe even beg, for that customer insight. It was usually aggregated, delayed data.
But with their own online store.
They own the customer relationship. They control the entire brand experience, from discovery to purchase to post-sale support. And they capture every single data point along the way, instantly.
It feels like nowadays, a major brand not having a strong direct-to-consumer online presence is actually the exception.
It really is becoming table stakes. And this dramatically shifts the power dynamics. Brands now have more leverage. They don't need retailers or platforms in the same way they used to.
So their relationship with platforms and traditional retailers is complicated.
Very complicated.
Yeah.
They might still use platforms as a sales channel, a way to reach certain customers. But it's just one channel among others, including their own powerful direct channel. The brand is now both a supplier and a competitor to the platform and the traditional retailer. Everyone's vying for that direct customer relationship and the data that comes with it.
Okay, let's try and pull this all together. If there's one core takeaway for you listening, what is it? It seems like this digital transformation, it's not just about having a website instead of a physical store.
Not at all. The fundamental shift, the real revolution, is moving the source of value. It's shifted away from owning physical assets like inventory or stores towards owning the connection, owning the services around the transaction, and critically, owning the flows of information and data. That's the engine of modern commerce.
Owning the connection and data. So you've got these platforms, masters of connection and data aggregation, and you've got these increasingly powerful integrative brands owning the product and aggressively going after that direct customer connection and data too.
Right, and they're competing, but also collaborating in really complex ways across the supply chain.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe a bit of a provocative one for you to consider.
If you have the platforms excelling at connection and data, and the brands excelling at product and increasingly grabbing data too, what happens to the traditional retailer, the ones sort of stuck in the middle? The ones still primarily reliant on that old model of buying low and selling high, the product markup.
Especially when they're competing against platforms whose main revenue drivers, ads, commissions are often invisible to the end customer.
And against brands that can now bypass them entirely, it's an incredible squeeze. The asymmetry in business models, in data access, in strategic focus, it's just staggering. You really have to ask yourself, in the long run, who ends up truly owning that customer relationship, that crucial touch point?
That really is the multi-billion-dollar question for the next decade of retail, isn't it?
It absolutely is.